Hello again. So this is Michael on the fourth module. And I like this one because it's about the self. And it, while not everything in here seems to do with the self at first, it has two big theorems on basically how we act and how we interpret things. And I do like them, especially uh, Cooley's theory of the looking glass self, because it makes a lot of sense. And I'm just gonna go over on what I've learned on this. I like this prompt because honestly, it allows me to kind of go over and figure out what I know too and how well it's stuck. So hopefully this is not incredibly boring for you. But anyways, back on subject. So for Cooley's theory, the big part of it is essentially breaks it down how we observe um ourself into three different steps. And the whole reason it's called the looking glass self is you're essentially your interactions with other people are kind of being focused back at you as like a mirror, where you are putting forward something and they are influencing your perceived imagination on how you in fact see yourself. It's like if you go up to someone and say, "How's it going?" and then they look at you and give you this like mean look, you might think that you did something wrong. You could be thinking, "Oh, they must have a really, really bad day." But like without them actually even having to say something, their perceived reaction has already made an imprint on how you're interpreting yourself. And talking about the self, what is the self? It's a very complicated question because if you think about it, what are you? Is it your brain? Is it your whole body? We have this imagined view of how we go and view ourself, and it's complicated, but it gets into just how we're able to perceive things. Another good example is Grauman's theory, where it goes and links things almost like like a play, where we're constantly putting on cynical and non-cynical acts, where either we believe what we're selling or we don't, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're being nefarious if we don't believe it. It could, it, and I've looked at that in the way of like fake it till you make it kind of, where it could be like a parent who smokes talking to their kid about how smoking's bad, and while they're smoking and say like don't smoke, it's not coming from them trying to just be a giant hypocrite. It could be trying to go and tell someone your honest self like this is a pit you don't want to go into. And it's pretty interesting going over theories like that. The going over why these are important though is they both have to go and go over how we see ourselves. But I find it extra interesting when you compare it to last week's module, or I guess the previous module, um, talking about relationships and the like, where simple things like in my previous one, I was talking about how simple relationships where it's something such as just talking to your coworker can leave an impact. I feel like that's actually one of the more important places for something like Cooley's theory or Goffman's theory, because those kinds of interactions, at least in my personal experience, happen a lot more than the more important ones do, just because we are creatures who tend to have to work 40 hours a week, and your coworkers and people you may meet at work or outside are not necessarily people that you have as much vested interest in as someone who is more toward your inner, like your close knit relationships. So being able to go and use police theory and break it into things of like you put forward something, you see how they react, and then you imagine yourself based off of that reaction and internalize it can be used to go and kind of have almost a, how do I put it, a more sobering feel to it. I don't know if personally you've ever had the thing where it's like you feel almost more at ease talking to a random stranger because you might not ever see them again, so it's easier to talk to. I feel like some people are able to be more honest with other people because we, according to Goffman's theory at least, are always putting on a play. We always have a mask on. We're always pretending to be something and trying to let it out as much as we can or drop it as much as we can, I mean, it's not something I guess we can really do, but it's something that I feel like sometimes we have a almost need for. But I think that's enough for this right now. Bye.